The 17-second rule that changed everything. How does this simple timing principle literally rewire your brain for manifestation? Hello, you amazing human. Have you ever wondered why some thoughts seem to gain momentum, whilst others just fade away? There's actually a fascinating piece of science behind this, and it connects beautifully with one of Abraham Hicks' most powerful teachings, the 17-second rule. Today, I'd love to invite you to explore how this simple timing principle is literally rewiring your brain for manifestation, and why understanding this could change everything about how you approach creating your reality. So what exactly is Abraham's 17-second rule? Abraham teaches us that when we hold a pure thought, without contradiction, for 17 seconds, it begins to attract thoughts of a similar vibration. Hold it for another 17 seconds, and now you've got 34 seconds of momentum. Continue to 51 seconds, and then 68 seconds, and you've created what Abraham calls combustion, the point where the universe must deliver a manifestation that matches that sustained focus. Now you might be thinking, that sounds lovely, but is there any science behind this? And here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Neuroscience research, particularly the work of Joe Dispenza, shows us that it takes approximately 15 to 20 seconds of sustained focus to begin creating new neural pathways in our brain. When we hold a thought with emotional intensity, for this duration, we're literally laying down new neural networks. Think of your brain like a garden. Every time you think a thought, you're walking a path through that garden. The more you walk that same path, the more worn and established it becomes. But when you consciously choose a new thought and sustain it for that critical 17-second period, you're beginning to forge a new pathway through your mental landscape. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. It's not just about thinking the thought, it's about feeling it. When Abraham talks about holding a pure thought, they're really talking about aligning your emotional state with your mental focus. And neuroscience backs this up completely. Research from HeartMath Institute shows us that when we combine focused thought with elevated emotion, we create something called heart coherence, a measurable state where our heart, mind, and emotions are in energetic alignment. In this coherent state, our brain waves actually synchronize with our heart rhythm, creating optimal conditions for neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections. So those 17 seconds aren't just about manifestation in some mystical sense. They're about literally rewiring your brain's capacity to perceive and create new realities. Let me give you a practical example. Say you want to manifest more abundance in your life. Instead of just thinking, I want more money, which often carries underlying vibrations of lack, you'd spend 17 seconds really feeling into the sensation of financial freedom. What would it feel like to check your bank balance and smile? What would it feel like to pay bills without anxiety? You're not just thinking about abundance. You're training your nervous system to recognize and expect it. And here's the beautiful thing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you spend those 17 seconds genuinely feeling abundant, grateful, loved, or successful, your brain begins laying down the neural pathways as if those experiences are already happening. You're essentially programming yourself to notice and attract more of what matches that feeling state. Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics adds another layer to this understanding. He's shown us that our beliefs and emotional states actually influence which genes get expressed. So when you consistently practice these 17-second focusing sessions, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're potentially influencing your biology at the cellular level. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds too simple to work. And I'd invite you to consider that perhaps we've been taught to believe that change has to be difficult or complicated. What if the most profound transformations happen through simple, consistent practices rather than dramatic overhauls? The key is understanding that those 17 seconds need to be pure, meaning without contradiction. If you're trying to feel abundant while simultaneously worrying about bills, you're creating mixed neural signals. It's like trying to drive with your foot on both the accelerator and the brake. This is why Abraham always emphasizes starting with thoughts that feel good right now, rather than jumping straight to thoughts that feel too big or unrealistic. If abundance feels too far-fetched, start with appreciation for what you already have. If perfect love feels impossible, begin with self-compassion. You're building neural momentum gradually, creating sustainable pathways rather than fighting against deeply ingrained patterns. The research from Dr. Rick Hanson, author of Hardwiring Happiness, supports this beautifully. He explains that we need to savor positive experiences for at least 20 seconds to encode them into our long-term memory. This isn't coincidence, it's consciousness and science dancing together perfectly. So how can you practically use this in your daily life? I invite you to try what I call 17-second resets throughout your day. When you notice yourself in a lower vibrational state, stressed, worried, frustrated, pause and ask yourself, what would feel better right now? Then spend 17 seconds genuinely feeling into that better feeling state. Maybe it's appreciation for your morning coffee, gratitude for your health, excitement about an upcoming experience, or love for someone special in your life. The specific focus matters less than the sustained, pure emotional experience. Now, I know some of you beautiful ADHD minds might be thinking, 17 seconds? I can barely hold a thought for 17 milliseconds. And I absolutely get it. Your neuroplasticity is actually extraordinary. Your brain is constantly making new connections at lightning speed. The invitation here is to work with your brain's natural patterns rather than against them. For ADHD minds, try what I call rapid-fire resets. Instead of one 17-second session, break it into shorter bursts. Feel good for 5 seconds, let your mind wander, then come back for another 5 seconds when you remember. Your brain is naturally good at switching between thoughts, so use that as your superpower. 3 5-second bursts throughout a few minutes can create the same neural momentum. You might also find it helpful to anchor your good-feeling thoughts to something physical. Touch a special stone in your pocket, tap your heart, or even just wiggle your toes. This gives your brain a sensory hook to return to when your attention drifts. Remember, your ADHD brain isn't broken. It's just wired for variety and stimulation, and we can absolutely work with that beautiful, unique wiring. Remember, you're not trying to force yourself to feel something that's completely opposite to where you are. You're just reaching for something that feels incrementally better, and then letting your brain's natural neuroplasticity do the rest. What I find most beautiful about this understanding is how it bridges ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science. Abraham has been teaching these principles for decades, and now we have the research to show exactly why and how they work. You're not just manifesting, you're evolving. You're not just thinking positively, you're literally upgrading your brain's capacity for joy, abundance, love, and possibility. So I'd love to invite you to experiment with this for the next week. Set a gentle intention to notice when you're in those lower vibrational states, and then gift yourself 17 seconds of consciously choosing something that feels better. Watch what happens not just to your external circumstances, but to your internal landscape. You might just discover that those 17 seconds really can change everything. What thoughts are you going to spend your next 17 seconds on? Thank you so much for watching. If this resonates, drop us a heart to show you have made it till the end. These videos are made as a guide to help you reconnect with knowledge kept within you. Take what resonates within you and release the rest. Follow the page for more content, or buy my 100 messages from the Universe book for daily guidance. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep shining your light.